there can be something called compassionate capitalism, where you have compassion for others. Your money is not your money. So I have reached a level where I'm not really worried about the money part of it. It comes. And also, I think that my money is meant for spending for others also. Right. So Gujarat has taught me this particular thing that, yes, you need money to do things, and only money can make more money. And there is nothing wrong in it.
Hello. In a few seconds, we'll listen to Madhu Menon, an activist, a nature lover, an entrepreneur, and an author, about Ahmedabad Nature Lovers Association, Anala, and his vision about sustaining nature and its resources while supporting development. Welcome to the conversation.
Anala Outdoors has become synonymous to the must-have experience of innovative outdoor education camping. Anala, way back in September 1985, was an informal group of amateur naturalists conducting programs for sensitizing citizens towards nature and environment. They call themselves Ahmedabad Nature Lovers Association. Since then, it has been working towards creating an environment-conscious society comprising of highly energetic, mindful, and disciplined youth. Stemmed from the passion and dedication of Chandresh Lodhia, Imtiaz Ghafoorjiwala, and Madhu Menon. Today, Anala Outdoors is sealing new heights with its underneath motto of conservation through environment education. With an aim of taking the urban-born and brought-up youngsters to the pristine and refreshing natural surroundings, Anala Outdoors, by now, must have introduced more than 100,000 people to the beauty of living with nature through its various programs.
Maybe you can start with an introduction about, how it started and what is it now. How people find Anala, how is it different from any other trekking and outdoors. You are also conducting other kind of presentations and workshops and all. So if you could walk us through what Anala stands for.
Sure. See, now it is known as Anala, but it's all started as Ahmedabad Nature Lovers Association, a group of nature lovers based in Ahmedabad. So what happened that many of us were activists when during the young age. At 19, 20, you feel that you can break the world and make, as Omar Khan said, you can create a new world. With that enthusiasm, we started a activist group, and we fought against a proposed five-star hotel in a horticultural space, wherein we believed that in big cities like Ahmedabad, there should be more and more open spaces for people. And a fantastic, a beautiful place was occupied by a private party to make a big hotel. So we objected to it. Interestingly, when we protested, it was typically with placards and all. And one of the journalists photographed us, and next day it was a news item in one of the local newspapers. And people came in search of us. But why are you objecting to this? So we said, see, there are so many trees around, so many butterflies flying around, and why are you spoiling this place? So among that group, one person was a scientist from Indian Space Research Organization, who is a writer now. He is still in touch with me. So he called me and asked, tell me, what's your problem with this project? He said, I said, yeah, so many trees will be cut down we should protect trees. He said, how many trees will be cut down? I said, many. Okay, no, I want an answer from you, not many. I said, I don't know. Okay, then you don't have any right to say object to it. Okay, why? Should no. There should be clarity. If you want to object to it, if you want to resist this particular project, go and count and let me know maybe 2 3 days. Count how many trees are there, how many of them are flowering, and let me know how many plants are there, how many roughly how many birds are coming, butterfly. Count everything and make a list and count. I said it sounds really funny, but we did that with my friends. We did actually. We went for a survey, calculated everything, and there were actually more than 100 grown-up trees and many plants with flowers, and more than 30 butterflies around, and a number of birds. We made a list and approached him, and he made a big kind of a writing and submitted to the municipal corporation saying that this is the place you are destroying, and that place is still there as a open space. The hotel project was shifted. This gave a kind of energy to all of us. Okay, we can do this. Okay, so we sat together and decided it's a group and how we should name it. So the common factor was all of us were from Ahmedabad and all of us were nature lovers. So we kept it Ahmedabad Nature Lovers Association. In short, we said Anala because in Sanskrit, Anal means chingari, that is spark. Definitely, that is you feel that you are a spark and you can, fire. So we kept that name, and that is the base of Anala. Okay. From there, they moved on and on. We were very active during the Bhopal tragedy, where we strongly believed that was an experiment by the agencies. I don't want to name them. It was not just an industrial accident. It was a well-planned kind of a thing. And unfortunately, even after so many years, almost 40 years, and still people are suffering from that. So we are part of that also. And we got into Narmada Bachao Andolan with Meda Parker and all. And this was the time it was going as an activist group. But we got into camping. That changed everything. Camping has become something very interesting. More and more people joined. When we started, it was getting 30 students from 10 different schools. Was a very difficult task without much communication facilities and all, but we managed. So before COVID, the pandemic, our average participation was almost 15,000 youngsters per annum. We reached that. And it has become, frankly, it's a business. No more it is an activism. It is a self-sustained business model. Okay, it's a company now. It's a big company which makes profit also and employ good number of people. So the starting was something very different, and where I stand is very different.
Nowadays, nature loving associations are being considered like, anti-development and all. To some extent, they are even, maybe there is a caucus around or there are some vested interests who make people believe that they are so-called, anti-development or something. So, but from now people have that understanding also why they stand for, but very rarely do they make some profit or they can stand alone. So what were how did you decide that this should not stand as a charitable trust or something, they should evolve as a business, or what was the thoughts behind and what were the activities to do that?
I will definitely take the name of my friends, very close friends and associates, Chandresh and Imtiaz, and the ethos of Gujarat. Okay. Anala was running as a charitable organization, an activist group and non-profit for almost 15 years. We established very well, but what we realized that we were losing all good people, because they were forced to take up jobs. They were forced to take up a kind of livelihood other than this activism activity. So collectively we decided this way we won't be able to go much ahead. And taking fund and working for someone else's interest, we realized that's also a big no. Because it was our realization that any funds, whether it is from private or funding agencies or even government, there will be strings. So knowingly or unknowingly, finally you end up for working for someone else's interest. You won't be able to pursue. And the main shift was that we wanted to retain our good people. So we were forced to pay them. Now to pay and while refusing any fund, definitely we have to charge the people. And in Gujarat, it is not considered to be bad. See, back mine, I'm a Kerala by birth. Okay. So as a person from Kerala, that kind of thought was inside, that making money is bad. Okay. If you make money, it is only by exploiting someone. That was the kind of teaching I had. So making money is no. If you make money, that is bad. And creating wealth is the most respectable thing in Gujarat. Okay, you may be a good writer, good filmmaker, everything, but you are a pauper. If you don't have enough money, they will look down at you. Because what are you doing? Without money, nothing can be done. And that's, while growing up in Gujarat, I realized that yes, money is important. And without money, you won't be able to realize your dreams. Or creating wealth is not a bad thing. It took a little more time for me to realize that no, there's nothing wrong in it. So now I also read Narayan Murthy and other kind of people and realize there can be different type of capitalism also. Okay, there can be something called compassionate capitalism, where you have compassion for others. Your money is not your money; it is your money also. So I have reached a level where I'm not really worried about the money part of it. It comes, and also I think that my money is meant for spending for others also, right? So Gujarat has taught me this particular thing, that yes, you need money to do things, and only money can make more money, and there is nothing wrong in it. The ethos that instead of trying to get a job, you should be able to try to give jobs. Now, there's a lot of difference in this thought. Okay, that's why you find so many entrepreneurs from Gujarat. I'm not just taking name of Ambani. You can count a number of people who created wealth and who give so many employment opportunity to others. So they here people believe, okay, it's fine. Don't beg for a job even with the sarkar. Create job and create jobs for others. No? That it can be a small tea shop, that's fine. So when Tata comes and settle down a big factory here, the local will prefer to have a small kitli, what that we call a tea shop closer to it, and make tea and sell and employ 2-3 more people along. So this I got into. Like now I changed my attitude. It changed it, and I could bring Anala to a different level. It may not be possible with all, but it is quite possible in Gujarat.
You have already hinted about the kind of attitude and the atmosphere that Gujarat provides. But could you also explain what kind of support you are getting, from the authorities or the like-minded people?
I got seriously into environment as a subject, and environment activism happened because of KSSP, Kerala Shastra Sahitya Parishad. Though I was not in Kerala, they came to Gujarat, and I became the local coordinator for the activities. That changed a lot of things. That gave me a lot of clarity. I could read most of the publications from SSP and got clarity. See, I grew up during the Silent Valley movement, which is still discussed as one of the most successful environment movement in India, at least. Maybe Chipko, we all discussed Chipko, but I think recently when Professor Prasad died, we all were discussing about this particular project, Silent Valley. So yes, and a kind of movement like ASSP, I don't think anywhere else it can happen. In Gujarat, it won't happen. We tried. Okay, here, as you mentioned, I know that the moment you talk about environment and they seriously talk about environment, you will be tagged as an anti-development person. Okay, this actually created during the Narmada movement. This was one of the biggest project, and which they tagged as lifeline of Gujarat. Nobody can object to it. And I faced it. Yes, you can't be an activist and live in Gujarat. It is very difficult. So that also the difference in culture. Okay, and you will be tired if you are an environmentalist. If you are called as an environmentalist, you are ought to be anti-government, anti-establishment, and anti-development. And this state, you know that my state stands for development first. Rest of the thing can be later. Right? Once development happens, then everything can be, environment can be managed. That is what most of the people here think. It's not this, though it is the other way. No, you cannot manage environment. Even you cannot protect it also. No, you are just part of it. You are the climate change, whatever you take up, it is being created by us. We are spoiled here.
What are things that you find are favorable and which could be a model that others could follow?
Okay, it is to do with only the people. The people are different. They want to travel, and they don't mind spending money for traveling. Other thing is that the schools, and we had an idea which is very different from just travel. What we were offering was an experiential learning and also enhancement of classroom teaching. Okay, so when we take children out, it is not just an outing. We do take up the subject taught in the classrooms, and we try to enhance the value of it. So this was being accepted by many schools. They realized and they found that, yes, going to a camp for 3-4 days with Anala can be an enriching experience for children. Now, that they value. So they started paying for it. Okay. So we tied up with roughly 50 schools all over Gujarat, and that was the major change. So I say again, it is the people's mentality. Yes, my child should go out, learn something, and I don't mind paying for it. Or maybe the school authorities deciding no, by sending our children, our students to a program in outdoors and with Anala can be an enriching experience. So this understanding must have really helped. Otherwise, I won't say this is really supported by any government agencies, except for the forest departments and the entire state were supporting without basic like a permission to camp, the permission to pitch up your tent and move around. This kind of thing, definitely there was no issue. They also appreciated. And financially, we never got any help from government.
This climate justice and all would have come to a commoner in the last 5 years, maybe. And you have been into, this awareness programs for the last 30 plus years, 35 years nearly.
30 plus years.
Yeah. So you would have seen the change in the society, maybe, as you rightly said, this awareness, previously everything was available, as in the natural resources were available for everyone. Now, even when you look at the situation in Delhi, even the, breathing air is scarce. So that is like nature is bouncing back probably. So what kind of change you see in people, like, from, you would have seen, maybe we can count like 2 or 3 generations who would have got this kind of awareness. So anything of that sort?
I see positive changes, in fact. Maybe when it comes to adopting into yourself, like you behaving like that, you need to go a little more. It's not just happening. But when you talk about awareness, yes, people are much aware than before. Now, the next step should happen. It should result in action. Now, most of the children grow up in schools. They know that trees are important. Okay. That is just remain as a knowledge. But is it possible to convert that knowledge to an action, and these children go and plant, not just plant, grow a tree? Now, that is also happening, but this should happen in a massive level. Then definitely things will change. I'm just telling one example about awareness about tree and growing a tree. The same thing everywhere. We are creating it. We need to find solutions. So people are aware now. Yes, there's a big country. When we talk about our countries, big country, still our priorities are different. Science or even technology or even environment is just getting momentum. our all attention was on something else. As I said, when you are hungry, you can't talk about all this. So now we have reached a level where we are not hungry. No, we can think about something else, the next step. So that is happening. I think that is happening, and this will happen maybe another 10 more years, and this may not be a Singapore, but it will be a much better place to live. And that's the whole purpose, no? The place, no, that's the whole saying. You should be able to leave this place as a better place for your children. Now, there's a big message. If you can practice that, and if I leave this atmosphere a little better than earlier or what I inherited, well, that's the way. So I'm happy about the things happening slowly, and a lot of people are visiting, as you mentioned, Singapore. A lot of people are going and seeing other things, like our people also. They go to Gulf countries, they go to America, and realize that this kind of things are possible. A good life.
While we conclude talking about Anala and nature loving aspects, you also provide this camping and trekking assistance to people outside Gujarat.
In fact, we just finished one project in Bihar, which is a very difficult state. Okay, this was training the One Samiti members, that is Joint Forest Management Committee members, to train them to take up ecotourism, like what we do, the camping, as a livelihood option. So I was there personally for 2-3 months, off and on. I realized this was my first interaction with actual Bihar. No, I must have passed through several times. This is in very close to Gaya, the famous place, closer to where Siddhartha became Gautama Buddha, right? So that is one thing we just finished, and fortunately we could train 30 people with all the kind of responsibilities, how to develop a campsite, how if children are coming, how to entertain them, how to teach them about basic things. Now I think by next season they will be taking it up in a big way. So that is one thing we are doing. And most of our operations are outside Gujarat, because Gujarat is not climatically, it's not a wonderful place. We have the summers are very hot. Last year it went up to 46, 47. The same way the winter is also harsh. And we don't have such beautiful places. We have got a lot of, like, Gir forest is there, part of Aravalli is there. And most of the tourism things till date happening was religion oriented. Like, people come here to have darshan. We have Dwarka, of course. Yeah. So yes, most of our activities are happening outside Gujarat, but most of the participants come from Gujarat. So we go every year to Himachal. Himachal, we have got 3 different places, camping places, but 90% of the participants come from Gujarat. So that's the difference. Yeah? Bombay is also quite active. Pune is also quite active. We get a lot of people from there.
Normally, how do these people who are interested in this camping, trekking, and even knowing these kinds awareness on the nature and climate justice and what we can do? So individually, or organizations or schools, they may be so far in the last 1 or 2 years, it would have been a difficult time for children might not have even seen schools for all the while. But now, how do they approach? Is it through your website, or how is it?
See, website has come just recently, like more and more people getting into website. Earlier it was through schools, and most of the time it happened mouth to mouth kind of publicity. 2, 3 children from a family going, and next time they're telling, no, you should go. It is very nice. And parents realizing that it makes a lot of positive change in the children. They become more independent. They start developing the values. Small thing, like when they come back, they realize that what mother was doing for them is so wonderful. Otherwise the children take it for granted. When the mother come and tell, please beta, one more roti, please have one more roti. So most of the children shout, I told you don't, I don't want. But now they realize they have to come in a line, take their own roti, eat, then wash your plate. Now they realize, no, this is a big thing. This my mother was doing since so long time. So they start saying thank you. They start expressing the gratitude. So these changes must have been really helped us to have without. So otherwise we never advertised. Like we never had a publicity campaign. It happened by people telling others, and that's the only way. Now we have a website. People ask, get into that, but that is also, if you get 100 participants, it's hardly 10, 12 of them come through. Rest of them come through the contacts only.
So it's not just loving the nature. It's like loving oneself and the people around. That is also part of the education.
Yes. So these camps are not nature lovers camp. No more. It is also a personality development and inculcating value systems. Because if you have got everything at home, and now in place like Gujarat, there are rich people, those who can get whatever they want. Their purchasing power is tremendous. But that money power cannot purchase few things. Now, this is also most important in a camp like what we do. It's been telling now a lot of gurus were telling the same thing. Now, the most important thing is happiness, and happiness cannot be purchased. Okay, so what I tell children, the most important thing to grow up is self-confidence. Okay, and you can't purchase it. You have to gain it. To gain that, you need to get rid of your unwanted fears. So we allow them to get into trouble, get into heights, get into activities where they have fear, but they get rid of it. Now, once you get rid of that simple fears, you become a different person. So fears is the most difficult thing in your life. If you are afraid of, you can't do that. So in our philosophy, we say every child is unique, and don't get into that standardization issues. Give them that freedom to do what they want, but definitely with all kind of security, safety measures, and that gives a lot of sense. So our programs are not limited to just observing birds and trees.
You remember your childhood, and whenever you go back to Kerala, and you have very good bonding with your relatives. I call it like Fevicol bonding with them, because all of your relatives, you all gather together. You have very good friendly time. So there are a lot of learnings in your childhood, and you would like to look back. Though nostalgia is something repeatedly used and kind of cliche. But you carry a lot of course, the spark of revolution also, which is there in every Kerala, regardless of the.
Yeah. See, interestingly, now today I'm talking to you about a success story. Okay. Yes, success in different ways. Like I was part of creating an organization, and which have done this, fine. But I still tell people, they started asking, what was this spark? How did you get into this kind of an activity? See, I'm from a service class family, and after graduation, my people wanted to make me doctor, which I refused. So they tried to make me at least a veterinary doctor. So I studied zoology for some time. I said no, that also. So after that, they say you should get into a government job. And I got 3 government jobs at least. And I worked with an insurance company, New India Insurance Company, for 15 months. Okay, I became a permanent employee, junior officer. But beyond 15 months, I could not work with the government sector. So that was the one thing. So now people ask me how it happened. I say that it's only because I spent 14 years, my formatting years in Kerala. And that also in a beautiful place like Chalakudi. Our ancestor home was on the bank of Chalakudi River. And now I had my own river. Okay. I had my own trees. I had my own butterflies. I had my own birds around. And I lost everything when I shifted to a major city like Ahmedabad. And that must have created a strong, kind of impact on my mind, which must have created this feeling for all. This is my own conclusion, because people start asking why, how. So I think, and I go back to my childhood, and most of the learning I have is from that time. So that was also a great learning for me, that if you want to imbibe something, you should catch them in. It is not just a cliche saying. It is important to get them at the right age. Because I got that knowledge and a lot of values imbibed in me because I spent that childhood there. So 10 to 14 age group is so important. Now, if you want to tell them about environment, your responsibility, the kind of thing, you should start talking to them around 5 to 15 is the time. After that, they get into other priorities. No, infatuations and other kind of things starts. And so the right time to imbibe is this. And yes, I still remember I go back, though my visits are not very frequent. Yes, it is nostalgia definitely there.
Quite interesting, and each time you revisit thoughts, maybe you are not able to visit frequently, but you revisit the thoughts. It's like even charging you up to continue further and to give back to the society more, and you're doing it. And talking about that, you have a wonderful home garden.
Yeah.
Could you please give some gyan on that?
It must be again a lot of things you carry forward from your childhood. Okay, as I mentioned, Ahmedabad is a hot place. It's very difficult to have a garden here, but you need to put efforts. So when we got our own house, I really put efforts, and I took that decision to have plants around. Okay, and I started doing it myself because I used to love that. I still remember after coming from the primary school class, this was the most interesting thing I used to do. Plants, trees from here and there. For that, I used to go neighbor's house and get some new plants, and we have a beautiful climate. You just plant something, it will grow in great. At least in our place. The soil is so wonderful. So yes, so after settling down here, also I tried to create a greenery around. And anyway, I've been talking about environment and telling about environment and nature. I declared myself as I'm a nature lover. So I was fond of doing this. I try to showcase it and also tell people this is possible. Okay, though you are in the middle of the town, you can still have it. Now, the other thing is that the fun of it. You just plant a small seed, and you observe it sprouting, and if it's a pumpkin, it start growing up, and suddenly you observe a flower on it. And few days you say that no flower is still there is something growing down. Okay, and that flower turning into a pumpkin is something I won't be able to explain the happiness. Right now, I started telling people, don't worry about, at least enjoy this. Plant a tree or a vegetable. And if you pluck that and you make your own sabji using your own vegetable, I think it's a wonderful feeling. See, we all can afford and get few kilos of a pumpkin or even loki. But okay, once in a while you get one piece of bottle gourd from your garden, from your kitchen garden. Now that is a beautiful feeling, right? So this is what I'm telling, and I enjoy it. I know that I cannot stop purchasing from the market because that much I cannot cultivate. My space is very less. But at least once in a week, I get something from my kitchen garden, and that is shared among all the family members. Whatever extra, like I have plenty of drumsticks. Okay. So I supply to all my extended families, and they are also happy to have such a tasty drumstick. For a Malayali, it is something really, that drumstick is. So there's a demand for it. People come. I say, you also plant one. Here is a sapling. Take it. Take and plant. So that is also kind of spreading the happiness. So it is not commercial. It is not philosophical. It is a practical way of harvesting happiness. So when I say that I harvest happiness, not just the vegetable. Yeah.
I love the way you have put it, like harvesting happiness. It's like beautiful. Talking about sowing seeds. The other day, a few weeks back, I was talking to Dr. Sriraj from our village. I don't know whether you are familiar with. He holds 3 doctorates, is what I remember. I don't know. He has gained more in the course of time. And he's now
chemistry person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his Chacha is known to me. Yeah, we are classmates. Yes. Yeah.
Why I remembered him is that he was talking about the village library that gave the first spark of reading. Maybe these cases publications also. Some of those science books, and that is how he started his first interest in science. And then, yeah, of course, his relatives and whoever is around. But then that small seed was sown at that young age from a small village library. That itself is like big spark. In another way, he is also harvesting happiness. It's going to be a change in the society in a big level, maybe. So nothing is small. That's what
I. Nothing is small, and the entire Vayanashala Prasthanam, that is something wonderful. I didn't mention about that, but I'm also totally like I should express my gratitude to that small reading room, Vayanashala. It's called Ananad Gramina Vayanashala. It was a village library. And I had the privilege to be part of the committee who selected books for that reading room, right? When I was in class 5. So I still think that I was one among few in the village who could finish off almost all the books allowed to be given to children. Yeah. There were a few books which were not given to us, and that is treated separately. But yes, as a child, I remember reading was my most I must have spent more time in reading books than doing my homework and other things related to the class. Yes. So see that is what Kerala is different. That movement, Grandashala Prasthanam, that created such a revolution in our state. Reading. Read and grow. I still remember. Vaikuga Valaruga. Read and grow. Now, this is something happens only in that state. Yeah.
Quite interestingly, let me connect to from a person from a child of a fifth standard is like how young and you were part of selection. So from that age and that child of reading habit and who loved books, you are an author. And that stands distinct also because it's a collaborative novel with I have not heard about any such attempt maybe because I'm not aware but that itself is quite exciting. Could you talk about the book? I think it is Altitudinis or
Altitudinis. Yeah. For the very first thing, there is no word like altitudinis. We created it. You won't find it in the dictionary. Okay. Yeah, it has. Yeah. So we created that way. When we say we work, 10 of us work together, that is for the first time. Even in our, we have not applied for the record thing, but we said there are collective writing is a genre. It has been done by 2 people, 3 people elsewhere. But 10 different persons from 10 different way of life coming out with a fiction. Anthologies are fine. Okay. But a fiction created by 10 people together is, I think it's the first time happening. And it's a story, beautiful crime thriller, right? Yes. So that was even for me, first experience of writing with so many people. And out of 10, 8 were females. And only 2 of us were males. And even the other person, he was there in the part of it. So I had a wonderful experience with working with 8 ladies with creative energy. That was also something interesting. Writing, of course, it was again a passion for me right from childhood. We had a magazine, handwritten magazine in our village, which was called Grama Bandhu. Right? At the age of 12 or 13, I had the privilege to edit it and rewrite. People say I had a good handwriting. Now I don't have because I stopped writing by hand. So collecting from different people, stories, poems, articles, and writing it in a readable style. That was also an experience. So handwritten magazine, that was also precisely. So writing was also passion, but I got into the language made a lot of difference for it. It created a gap, Till 14, it was only Malayalam. And suddenly got into a world where it was totally different. Though a lot of people think that Kerala is come with a lot of knowledge in English. I know what was it, right? So I had to learn other languages. I had very basic of English, again very basic of Hindi, but I learned both after reaching here. And this place again, if you want to be with people and want to interact with you, have to learn, you have to speak Gujarati. Okay, English won't work. Till date, it is unless you speak that their language, they will not consider you as one among. I learned that. So now I can read, write, and I take classes in Gujarati. But I thoroughly enjoyed doing this collective work. We are planning for one more. May not be all the 10 together, but and the book has done well. It's all about my part was the story moving around the Himalayas, the Himalayan rivers, the yogis, and that atmosphere. Yes, so I really enjoyed it.
The other day, I was listening to your, your video, and you were speaking a very good Gujarati, though I cannot make out most of it.
It's mainly because of my good friends who kept on telling me, no, it's not, no, you made a big mistake. Don't ever repeat that. No. So that all been noted down, and rural visits. My filmmaking and my other activities really helped. If you go to a remote place, your English won't do anything. Your Hindi can't work there. So you need to talk in their language. And when you start talking in their language, though it is not your language, you actually make a beautiful reputation and a bridge. No? Language has got that power. Still, if in a crowd, if someone talking in Malayalam, you will turn to look who is, and an automatic smile will come. And like, oh, you're a Malayali? Yes. That's there. That's always there. The same happened in recently when I visited Madanapalli. It's a remote place in Andhra Pradesh. I was going around, and of course, sometimes it looked like a Gujarati also. So someone tried to talk to me in English. So I could recognize him as a Gujarati. And I started talking in Gujarati, and he was so happy. And next 4 days we were together because he got someone who talked his language. This happens wherever you go. Even while visiting US, while visiting Canada, you find some Gujaratis and they readily come. And same way. So the advantage is that you can relate directly to a Malayali anywhere. You can relate to a Gujarati anywhere. You can also relate to a Himachali anywhere because I understand their language. So, okay. Now, don't you think that's a wonderful thing? It's a very, very nice thing. And later you tell that I'm not that. No. After a day or two, you tell your Gujarati friend that actually I'm not a Gujarati. Then that surprise element, that also enjoyable. Yeah. I enjoy that. I really enjoy that.
Yeah. Then I have to, of course, talk about the music part, your love for music and how you are inclined to learn some of the instruments lately.
Yes, music. Frankly, I used to sing when I was a child. I wanted to learn Chenda first when I was, but I could not. So this time I got a lot of time. Corona helped me to have my own time, a lot of my own time, which I was missing because I was traveling 220 days a year on a regular basis since almost 20 years. So I got little time, and luckily I have a neighbor who's a Vidwan in it. He is the All India Radio tabla artist, A grade artist. I just told him, see, I'm 50 plus, and will you teach me? He was so happy and he started laughing. Okay, don't worry. You are just 5-year-old for me. Okay, but you have to listen to me. Now, if you agree, then we are going to be Guru and Shishya. I think, fine, okay. But he understood and he taught me basics. Now, whenever I get leisure time, extra time, I go and I play it only for me. That's the difference. If you ask me when you come, you say, "Ki Madhu, please play it for me." I may not do that. I do it for myself. Yes. So there's no age. There's no age to learn something. And okay, if you want to be a performer, if you want to be a professional in tabla, you should have started it at a young age. All classical things, it takes years, and you don't have that patience at this age. It's very difficult. So I just do it for myself.
Thank you so much, Madhuji, for all the activities, for the wonderful time.
See you again. Thank you very much.
Please do subscribe to Media Mathamgi and share your observations as comments. Thank you.